One sure way to master your pattern making skill is by taking an existing outfit which you have in your closet and doing your best to replicate that outfit by creating a pattern from that outfit you can work with. So this is one way I learned how to, I gain understanding when it comes to making pattern. There are some clothes I have in my closet. I just take my tape, I start taking various measurements and studying how they were made. Sometimes I make an attempt and compare it with what I already know, and it just lights up a bulb in my head like, oh, I understand. So I think as a pattern maker, it is very important that you find every possible avenue to upgrade your skill. And one way of doing this is to learn with things you already have around you. Learn with clothes you already have around you. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I created an exact copy of this top. So this top was made with a stretchy fabric. That means it has no dart and it's also close fitted. But I'll be working with a woven fabric. For this reason, I would have to add dart so that I can get the same fit. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. All right, to begin, I'm going to start by drafting the back of the top. I will be using my basic bodice sloper for this as the foundation. And I will not be copying out the darts because this dart is for my snatched waist. So I will have to adjust the waist dart for this. Do note that this pattern has a center back dart, so I'll go ahead and shade out the dart so you can see it clearly. Now, after analyzing this top, I found that the back waist length of the top is slightly shorter than my actual back waist length with about 3/8 of an inch. Okay, and also the front waist length of the top touches my natural waistline at center front but angles out to meet the back of the top at the side with 1.5 inches. So this makes the top to be asymmetric. It has this high and low vibe, which is not very obvious. Now this top has a low armhole depth. So I'm going to come down from the basic armhole depth with 1/2 an inch and square a line from this point to center back. Along this horizontal line is where I will be imputing my back bust arc, which measures 16.5. So 16.5 divided by 2 will give me 8.25. Now from center back, from this point, I'm going to measure out toward the side seam 8.25 inches. So this is my back bust arc. Now from the center back, I'm going to mark my back waist measurement plus a dart width of 3/4 of an inch. Now I'm going to connect both points together to form the side seam. Once this is done, I'll go ahead and plot my dart of 3/4 inches. So this means on both sides of the dart line, I'm going to mark 3/8 of an inch and then connect to form the waist dart for the back of the bodice. Next, my side seam measurement on the top measures 6 1/8 inches. Now from the bust line, I'm going to take this measurement toward the waistline and then mark 6 1/8 inches. From this point, I'm going to square a line to center back. So this line is the hem of the top. This shaded part will be cut out of the back of the top because, as I said, the top is slightly shorter than my actual back waist length. Next, to create the neckline, I'm going to refer back to the top and I'm going to take the measurement from the neckline depth to the center back waist. So this gives me 13.5. So I'm going to measure this 13.5 from this new waistline upward. So this point becomes the neckline depth for the back of the top. Now for the neckline width, I'm going to go out 1 inch from the basic neckline width along the shoulder seam and then connect these 2 points together to form the neckline. Next, from this new neckline width, I'm going to mark along the shoulder seam the shoulder length for the top, which is 3/4 of an inch. Now I'm going to take the measurement from the neckline depth to the across back line And then I'm going to take this measurement I just got from my pattern and place it on the top like so. And take the measurement from this point across to get the across back width for the top. So this for me is 3 5/8 inches. Now the back armhole measures 12 1/4 inches. So when drawing my armhole must not extend this point on the bust line, and it must be equal to 12 1/4 inches. Okay, so I'm going to use my French curve to draw the armhole like so. And once this is done, I'll go ahead and take the measurement, and hopefully I'm going to get 12 1/4 inches like I got on the top measurement. So this is more than 12 1/4, so I'm going to make the armhole curve a little bit higher. So remember, the higher your armhole curve, the smaller your armhole measurement. The lower your armhole curve, the larger your armhole measurement. So after the second attempt, I got the accurate armhole measurement. So I'll go ahead and clean the double lines and then redraw the armhole curve. The next thing to do is to close your darts and through the waistline. So I've gone ahead to trace out the back of the pattern. I added my seam allowance. I added 1/4 inch to the neckline, 1/2 inch to the shoulder seam, 1/4 inch to the armhole, 1 inch to center back, 1/2 inch to the waist seam, and 1/2 inch to the side seam. Okay, and we're done with drafting the back of the top. For the front of the top, I went ahead to trace out my basic bodice sloper, but I traced it out without the bust dart. I only traced out the bust level line and the dart line for the waist dart. The reason I did not trace out the bust dart is because I need to adjust the bust dart for the sake of the style of the blouse. Now, to create the neckline for the blouse, I'm going to measure out from the basic neckline width along the shoulder seam 1 inch. For the neckline depth, I would have to refer to the blouse I'm trying to replicate and take the measurement from the neckline depth along the center front to the waistline of the blouse. Do note that the length of this blouse at center front touches my natural waistline. Now I'm going to take this measurement I got and measure upward from the waistline. So this means this point is 1.5 inches below my basic neckline depth. So that means the dimension for this neckline is 3.5 inches width and 4.5 inches depth. Now for the shoulder length, I'm going to mark from this new neckline width 3/4 inch along the shoulder seam. Okay, next I'm going to refer back to the top and take the across chest measurement at this level, and this measurement is giving me 4.25 inches. Now the level at which I'm taking this across chest measurement is 1.75 inches below the neckline depth. So now on my pattern, I'm going to mark down 1.75 inches below the new neckline depth and then measure across this point 4.25 inches, which is the across chest measurement I got from the top. Like I did for the back bodice, I'm going to come down from the armhole along the side seam 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to square a horizontal line across this point to center front and extend this line out of the side seam. This line is the front armhole depth for the top. Now back to my body measurement, which I took while wearing the top. My front bust arc is 20 inches, and I took this measurement at an angle that starts from the center front to the bust point and then angled out to the side seam at exactly the armhole level. Okay, so this means my front bust arc must fall on this horizontal line which I drew previously. So this is the point where I have 10 inches, which is my front bust arc measurement. Now the front armhole measurement while wearing the top measures 13 inches. So this means that the armhole curve must not exceed this point and must be equal to 13 inches. Okay, so right now I'll go ahead and use my French curve to connect the 3 points together like so. Now I'll go ahead and take the measurement of the armhole curve, and if this is less than 13 inches, I would have to adjust the armhole. So what I have here is 12.5 inches, so I need to adjust the armhole by making it deeper. Do take note of how I'm drawing the new armhole curve. So I went a bit lower than the armhole depth line, okay, and angled back to that point on the side seam. So now I'll take the front armhole measurement again, and hopefully this time it's going to be 13 inches. All right guys, this is 13 inches, so I'm going to erase the double line and redraw the armhole curve. So I'm just going to double check to make sure that I have exactly 13 inches. Okay guys, the measurement is accurate. I have 13 inches, okay? Do take note that the lower your armhole curve, the larger the armhole measurement. The higher your armhole curve, the smaller your armhole measurement. Now from the center front on the waistline, I'm going to mark my front waist measurement plus my dart width of 1¼ inches. Now I'm going to connect both points together to form the side seam. Next, I'm going to draw out my dart. Okay, now the style line of this top is kind of asymmetric because the back is shorter and the front is longer. So the difference between the front and the back hem when creating that asymmetric style line is about 1½ inches. So from the waistline, I'm going to measure 1½ inches along the side seam like so. And before I go any further, I like to draw out my bust radius circle, which is the measurement from your bust point to your underbust, okay? And this bust radius circle just helps you to know when you're folding either your bust dart or your waist dart accurately, okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and close the waist dart. Then using my French curve, I'm going to draw a curved line from this point at the side seam, blending into the waistline at center front. When you're drawing this curve, you want to have a smooth transition, and at the same time you want to true the waistline, okay? Now go ahead with my tracing wheel to trace the outline of the darts at the waistline level, and once I open the darts, I can follow the outline I created with my tracing wheel to draw the dart accurately, okay? Now I'm going to take the measurement of what I have left on the side seam and subtract the back side seam measurement from this measurement. So what is left is about 1 5/8 inch. So this 1 5/8 inch becomes the width of my bust darts. So I'll go ahead and draw out my bust level line so you can see it clearly. And from this line at the side seam, I'm going to measure 1 5/8 inches, which is the width of my bust dart. So now I'm going to connect this point to the bust point. But because we'll be sewing this dart, you need to redraw the bust dart a little bit further from the bust point. So I'm going to mark the midpoint of this bust dart and square a line from this point to the bust point. Now, like I did for the waist dart, I'm going to measure 1 inch along the center line. You can see the waist dart was drawn 1 inch below the bust point, so we need to do the same with the bust dart. So I mark 1 inch away from the bust point along the center line, and then redraw the bust dart like so. So I'll go ahead and clean the previous line. And once this is done, you want to true the side seam, okay? You cannot leave your side seam like so. So you need to fold the bust dart, and you can see how crooked the side seam is. Now you want to redraw the side seam. So I'm just double checking to make sure that it's the same measurement with the back side seam. I'll go in with my tracing wheel and then follow the outline which I just traced out and complete the bust dart like so. So the next thing I'm going to do is to trace this pattern to a fresh pattern paper and then add in my seam allowance all around the neckline, the shoulder seam, the armhole, the side seam, and the waistline seam. So this is what it looks like after adding my seam allowance all around the pattern. The next thing you want to do is you want to take the front and the back and match them together at the shoulder seam. So you want to make sure they match at this point and you have a smooth transition around the neckline. And you also want to check the side seam of both the front and the back just to make sure they match. So I'll be using this chiffon fabric for this top. This is a very lightweight fabric, so I think I'm going to add interfacing to the fabric just to give it a little bit of weight. And I also decided that because of the print, I do not want any interference at the back of the bodice. So I'm going to eliminate the waist dart from the back of the bodice. So to do this, I need to take the dart value of the waist darts and remove it from the side of the back of the top. So my dart width for the back is 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to mark 3/4 of an inch from the side seam on the waistline like so, and connect it to 0 point at the armhole. So this is the dart value. I'm going to trim this off. So now I can sew the back of the top without the waist dart. But for the front of the bodice, I need the bust dart because this is a woven fabric. So I would need to have the bust dart. Okay. So I've gone ahead to mark the outline of my dart. I'll take this to the sewing machine and join them together and just come back to show you what the top looks like. This brings us to the end of this video. The top came out perfectly. It looks identical to the one I'm trying to replicate. It's the same. The only difference is the print and the bust dart at the front because this is a woven fabric. While the top I'm trying to replicate was made with a knit fabric which is stretchy. Okay, so the only difference is the bust dart and the print, but the fit is the same. Anyway, do let me know if you'd like to see a sewing tutorial for this top. If not, this brings us to the end of this video. I hope you find it helpful. Feel free to leave a comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet subscribed, and here I'll see you on my next one. Bye bye.